has started the year off with Venezuela, healthcare, and affordability. Join us now, Senator Bill Hagerty, and we're just talking off camera about things. Yesterday, the president got pretty angry at, I think, 4 senators on the Venezuela bill. What did that Venezuela bill really mean for our policy, or the president's policy?
Well, it doesn't have
teeth?
Yeah, it doesn't have an immediate impact because it was a procedural vote to actually move to a discussion and debate on this next week, and that's what's going to happen. Senator Fetterman, for example, said he was going to support the procedural move, but he will not vote to support.
I think there were 4.
So and there are a few Republicans that moved. This isn't an unusual situation, particularly coming into midterm elections, where you have senators that are in tough situations. I'm not going to try to judge what my colleagues' motivations.
We see it on both sides of the aisle. We see crazy stuff.
But it's this is not a time where it's unusual to see an elected official break with the president.
They know if something's safe. A lot of times, though, for their own local political situation, they'll go the other way, knowing it doesn't make a difference.
That happens.
Kabuki theater sometimes. What about we did see how many? 17 Republicans voted with Democrats yesterday on the subsidies.
In the House.
In the House.
Yes.
Again, it's the same situation. That same bill in concept was put forward before Christmas in the Senate. It didn't make it. We had side-by-side bills, one Republican sponsored bill, the other Democrat sponsored bill. We just don't have a meeting of the minds yet.
Right.
Susan Collins, the Senate Republican, and is leading a group of Republicans who are working on some changes to that bill.
Actually, several senators are, Becky, working on a variety of things. But what they're trying to do is address a number of things. One is to put the funds in the hands of the people as opposed to directly subsidizing the insurance companies.
Through an HSA.
And they're working along those lines. There's a significant amount of fraud that we've uncovered. In 2021, under President Biden, we went to this zero premium plan that was made available. Since that's happened, a normal private plan will have about 15% of the enrollees in a given year not make a claim. It's up to 40% of people that are enrolled here. The brokers are being paid roughly $1,000 per enrollee. There's a lot of anecdotal evidence that people have been signed up, don't even know they have the insurance. So this money is going straight to the bottom line of the insurance companies. People not even aware that they're insured. Tremendous amount of fraud.
But is that a quick fix if you just get rid of those zero payment plans?
It certainly is one of the quick fixes that have been discussed. I don't know why the Democrats are resistant to this. We're talking about a minor de minimis payment, but that would at least notify the individual that they've got insurance, that they're having to make a monthly, even if it's $5 to make a payment. And there's resistance even to that. And we're trying to eliminate the fraud. The program is clearly broken. The rate of escalation of insurance premiums under Obamacare since it was founded in 2014, 260% increase. That's more than 2x the average private sector premium. In my home state, it's even greater than that.
We had Budget Chair Arrington on yesterday, and he talked about that vote in the House, and he's saying, I hope we don't get a lot of Republicans that, I guess he was foreshadowing. He knew that there were going to be quite a few. He wants to fix everything in another reconciliation bill.
There's a significant amount of discussion about a reconciliation bill. That's an option that's open to us right now. Senator Graham on the Senate side is talking about the same thing.
I mean, it sounded like Congressman Arrington it's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen near term. What would that be similar to what you were just talking about at this point?
That would be one means to fix it. In that regard, it could be a wholly Republican product. But right now, I think there are bipartisan discussions that are taking place, so we'll see where it lands.
Remember, the president has a pretty good, holds a lot of sway in both chambers with Republicans. When he lost 4 yesterday on the Venezuela vote, I don't know what you say, it's procedural, but then 17 on this other thing, and there's, obviously there's Republicans working with Democrats on the subsidies. Would you say that he is losing his grip at all at this point on either house?
No, I wouldn't say that one bit. In fact, I think the support for President Trump is as strong as you'd have ever seen it. I think what you're seeing is the typical process that happens coming into midterm elections, and you've got vulnerable candidates that are taking moves that may be helpful to them in their particular constituency. But I don't think that's a broad swipe against.
There's time, and there are some numbers that we'll see today with the job numbers that. See the trade deficit yesterday? That was like Rick Santelli his teeth almost. He doesn't have dentures, but I thought they almost came. It was cut in half, basically. Yeah. Maybe it's imports. There's not as much demand, but definitely there's more export. And you had, I think, Atlanta Fed's at 5% or something on GDP. Is there enough time for for Republicans to pull something out of their hat in November? Do you think it's possible that the Republicans hold the House if things start going well in the economy?
I absolutely do, Joe.
You do?
And I think
because they never do during midterms.
It's not typical. It's not typical, and I think that will explain a lot of behavior that you're seeing right now in both bodies, both the Senate and the House. But what I see on the horizon is a tremendous amount of capital expenditure that's coming into play. Go back to the trade negotiations that have taken place.
The BBB.
That's benefiting my home state significantly.
Deregulation. There's
deregulation.
Oil $57, 78 when Trump came in.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to ask, which is, I think, maybe more of a social issue, but it goes to, like, just what's going on politically in the country. What your reaction to the situation with this ICE matter in Minnesota that everybody's been watching on social media and on television for the last 48 hours.
Yeah,
and how you react to watching that, the idea that an American was killed by an ICE agent.
The situation is tragic. There's no question about that, Andrew. But the greater tragedy in my mind is when you have elected leaders encouraging non-cooperation with federal authorities. And, it's reared its head in various jurisdictions where you've had people attacking ICE agents. The number of threats against ICE agents have gone up through the roof. I mean, over 1,000%. It's time for people to start cooperating.
How do you feel? I mean, how do you think you personally feel, and how do you think your constituents feel when you watch videos of ICE agents wearing masks, oftentimes without any kind of labeling about even who they are or what they're doing, ripping people out of? I mean, you've seen these videos. I'm not the first to tell you about these things. These are things that we as Americans, I don't think have seen, at least in my lifetime. Do you think that your constituents look at that and say, we love
why
that,
why have you seen it?
I'm asking.
I know, but we've talked. Yesterday we talked
about the question.
5 million deportations under Obama. The reason you didn't see it was because the left wasn't obstructing every single deportation.
Well,
back then.
I'm asking the senator what do you think your constituents say to you? I love this. Do you look at that the idea of these masked agents and say this is what you want?
This is an answer that's very easy with my constituents, because the violation of our immigration laws that took place, a massive violation of Joe Biden, was absolutely a top issue for voters in Tennessee. And I think that was the case broadly across the country. What people want is law and order, and the law and order was completely destroyed at our southern border with Joe Biden. There's been an influx of people, pressure on social systems.
Let's stipulate and agree that you're right about that. My question is a slightly different question. My question is, do you believe that agents that are oftentimes unmarked, wearing masks in various cities and counties around the country, that's something that you support?
I support whatever it takes to get these people that shouldn't be here out of our country. Period. Full stop.
They've already
I support protecting their own identity too, because they've been doxxed.
They already doxxed the individual because we know who he is because he was dragged 300 feet in a car by a car previously. So they've doxxed him already. They're going to dox everything. If you were an ICE agent, by the way, would you not want to be?
He's been doxxed for a different reason, which is actually that some of the government officials released enough information about that person for them to be
fair enough
to be discovered.
Fair enough. But if you were,
and by the way, it's the job of reporters and the public to figure out these things.
But if you were an immigration agent, would you want everyone to know who you were and your family and where you lived with the reaction of that? There are traveling bands of people ginned up to go wherever there are ICE agents right now by the left to block, obstruct, and do everything they can.
By the way, look, obviously.
Okay, how about this?
Never in a million years.
How about this?
Hold on. I would never in a million years encourage.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Hold on. But I wouldn't encourage that.
Good for you, but it's being done.
In any way whatsoever.
It's being done.
But one of the reasons, and I'm not saying that there's a valid reason for it at all, but I do think there's a lot of Americans that look at this scenario with this sort of the masked agents thing and say this is crazy, and they are against that, and therefore that's part of what they're protesting.
Let's put it in context. Now, here, the Journal, maybe you can agree with this. The heated way Mr. Trump has gone about his mass deportation policy and the equally heated way that the left has opposed it made a violent collision inevitable. But we had 12 million come in under Biden. Trump's gotten rid of 350,000. Obama deported and sent back 5 million without a word from the left. So what do we do about the 12 million that came in to vote Democratic?
I don't know about that. But the reason.
Well, I do.
Hold on. But the reason that you
I'd love to
didn't
talk
have
about that for a minute.
But the reason you didn't have the
The
protest.
senator would like to say
Okay,
something.
I'd like to ask the senator this. I imagine that, I think you'd agree with me, the reason why you didn't have protests about ICE under Obama was because you did not have images of masked, ICE members ripping people out of cars.
They got to be masked because of the way the left is.
And you didn't have the set of circumstances that require them to protect their identity.
Exactly.
I think that's the point that Joe's making, and I agree with that. The other point that Joe made that warrants a real discussion here is what was the motive behind all of this flood of people coming into the country? Whether the number is 12 million, I've heard numbers even higher than that.
Exactly what it was.
The motivation was very clear, and every one of my Senate colleagues made it clear when I put on the floor legislation that would require the census not to count illegal aliens for the purpose of allocating congressional districts and electoral votes. That's what's being done right now. It's a backfill. It's the biggest backfill ever to basically count these people and give disproportionate voting power to states like California, states like New York, where we are right now. Blue cities that create a sanctuary are creating magnets to backfill the loss of population.
Connect the dots. Tim Walz put up a Somali flag instead of a Minnesota flag to appeal to that constituency to get more campaign contributions, to then open a bunch of fake child care centers. Basically, it runs all the way through the fabric of what's happening.
I am not disputing with you. We have no disagreement about the fact that there was a flood of people into this country that shouldn't be here.
So what do you do now?
There's a question about how as Americans, we have a justice system that should deal with this, and whether this system, the way we're approaching it, which does not look very much like the way we've done this in the past.
I would agree with that, too. I think it's unprecedented, Andrew. It's unprecedented.
Federal officials calling ICE Gestapo and saying, please go ahead and disrupt this and make sure that and they're Nazis. And what do you expect when the left? You can't deport these people. 350,000. We didn't hear a word about 5 million.
I'm just saying there are people who are watching us who think that you're justifying the murder of an American in the past 72 hours.
Think, this is a tragic accident that needs to be investigated. No, yesterday you were saying Trump's got blood on his hands because of this woman.
I did not. First of all, I didn't say that he had blood on his hands because of this woman. But if you want to say that, you can say that. But by the way, to some degree, the way that this has been approached and the way the administration is approaching this and the fact that actually somebody was killed, that exists. 2
more people were killed again by ICE. They were also obstructing. They drove it, whether she did or not. I mean, that's going to be part of this investigation, and there's different angles from all the videos. But it's a tough business, and I don't envy what ICE agents are up against.
But back to Andrew's point, it is an unprecedented situation. This is not something that we've seen before. But, Joe, you're right. It's because the left has decided to mount a massive campaign to try to block law enforcement. It's because these agents, sadly, have to protect their identity because they're being doxxed, they're being outed, their families are being threatened. It's a sad state of affairs that needs to come to an end. And I think leaders on both sides of the aisle should sort of take down the heat. And the last thing we need are for federal leaders or state level leaders to be encouraging the resistance to ICE.
I mean, you saw the mayor of Minneapolis. That guy has got a screw loose. There's no doubt. And I don't think Tim Walz comported himself very well, right?
I'm not commenting on any of that.
Well, we can each express our opinions about what we think is going on. I don't think that I certainly don't think that trying to do this, then you blame that for an unfortunate death.
It's interesting, though. We're talking about how tight the Congress is, the votes that are happening in the midterm. It's extraordinarily close. And so control of Congress is a very key dimension of all of this. And it's back to what you said earlier, Joe. The reason the border was collapsed, the reason these 12 million people came into the country had a lot to do with changing the voting dynamics here in America.